good morning, or whatever it happens to be where you YouTubers are today. We're working on our hardwood floor in one of the apartments here. We're getting ready to turn this into the B&B. Our tenant has moved out, but we've got to refinish part of the hardwood floors. I'll show you what we're doing here when I flip the camera around. And this is not something we really know how to do. We've watched some videos about it, read some books about it, and now we're going to try it. Okay, this hardwood floor has some really dark stains on it. A lot of things can cause this, water being spilled on it and left without being cleaned up. Pets can do this. I do know the tenant had a couple of dogs, but if you see this, these black areas, those can't just be sanded out. So we're going to try something a little different. Now we have been sanding on this one, and you can see the black stain is still there. This other one over here is pretty much gone with just a little bit of sanding, so we're not going to have to do much to that one at all. We're not going to have to bleach it, but we're going to try bleaching the others with peroxide and see how that works. Okay, we are going to be doing this with hydrogen peroxide. This is what you get at a big box store. It's 3% USP. This may not be enough. I've seen some people who say that you have to use something a lot stronger than this. But we're going to try it. You got to pour it on, leave it on for 30 minutes or an hour, and then come back and scrub it. So that's what we're going to try and see if it works. Because this is a 100-year-old hardwood floor, we think. The house is 118. So we got to try to get this restored the best we can. You can also do this with a spray bottle, but you don't really have one handy, so. And this should bleach the wood out. Bleach the stain out of the wood. I'm going to pick this up off the area that's not stained, so it doesn't bleach yet. And we're just going to let this sit. We'll let that sit and see what it does. This is the worst spot in this particular room. First step is to sand it off. And once you get it sanded, then you put the peroxide on to try to bleach the wood. I'm going to start sanding it with this little palm sander. One, because it's really close to the wall, and two, because the sandpaper for those big sanders is ungodly expensive. You don't want to use any more of that than you have to. You got to be careful though, so you don't grind down divots into the floor with this. Okay, keep it moving, move it with a grind. And once again, this is one of those things that is a lot more difficult than it looks like and sounds like to begin with. We started this with sandpaper. We've used peroxide. We used pet stain remover. Eventually, some of the stains came out. Some of the spots are still there, but hopefully we'll use strategically placed furniture and that kind of thing to hide it. This is not something that is easy to deal with. And another reason why you shouldn't ever let your tenants have pets in an apartment. You're going to just have to spend a lot of money refinishing it, and a lot of time too. This is a pretty bad spot. It's been wet long enough that the boards have started to bow and cup. So that's caused them to do this. So this is where I sanded. You end up taking more off on those edges than you would if the boards were flush together. You've got another bad spot here. I can feel this is humped up. We're going to go ahead and sand that, get it as smooth as we can, and then we'll use a wood filler in these cracks to close those up. Alright, this is after we got started on this. You see it's still pretty dark, but you can start to see some change in the middle of it. I'm going to take a break, and when we come back I will put some more hydrogen peroxide on that and let it sit and try it again. Okay, now here we put hydrogen peroxide on one of these stains, and you can see that it's really foamed up and boiling. That shows that there is something biological there, whether it's bacteria, some kind of like blood or pet urine or something like that. So this is showing that it's working. It's oxidizing what's over there. We'll scrub this with a brush and with a scrubbing pad and see if we can get it off. And the answer is no, we can't get it off. We scrubbed this thing until our hands were raw, pretty much, and you can see in this video that it's still got a big stain. So we just went ahead with the floor sander. And by the way, this is not the kind of floor sander we should have used. Okay, whoever redid this floor the last time, or the time before that, apparently changed the door. Turn the camera around and show you. This is where the threshold would have been. And they finished the floor right up to the threshold and stopped. And then later they took the threshold off. And this is what's left. So I've got to try to scrape that. It's never going to match the rest of the floor, but I'll give it a shot. Well, when we started off, I told you that we'd never done this before as far as sanding floors, refinishing them. I have helped a couple of people, but you know, that's what it's worth. The scraping actually did a pretty good job on the area around the threshold. You can see here on this picture that it took a lot of that off. After I refinished it, it darkened back up some, but it was a lot better than it was to begin with. The biggest thing we did was the vibrator sander that we used, vibratory sander, was not what we should have used because we had to take the floor down too far. We should have had a drum sander to use on this. We ended up using the vibratory sander sideways. These are basically just to rough a floor up so you can put a new coat of polyurethane on it. But we managed to take it all the way down to the wood in a lot of places. It didn't turn out bad, really. It just didn't turn out great. So if you're going to do this, here you can see the stain. If you're going to do this, you need to get a drum sander if you can. Our problem was that the rental place only had the vibratory sanders. It didn't have the drum sanders. If you're looking for one, try to find one that has the drum sanders. That'll do a whole lot better than this one did. This is the dining room floor where the stains were, and it looks actually pretty good. Okay, I'm ready to start finishing this floor, at least in the dining room. Now, I've got one of these. This is a paint pad, a wool paint pad, and this is what I'm going to be using to put the polyurethane on. These are supposed to be lint-free, and generally they're mostly lint-free, but just in case they're not, painter's tape. You can see there's just a little bit of fuzz on there. You don't want that in your polyurethane. One of the things we ran into was that some of these floors had been refinished before, so they had polyurethane on them. This one did not. This was an oiled floor, and it actually turned out better than the others, I think. I like the color better myself, but we just ran a sander over this a couple of times, threw some polyurethane on it, and there it is. I think it actually looks pretty decent. This one still has problems. You see those stains on the floor. No matter what we did, PET cleaner, peroxide, nothing worked. The same thing here, you look in the middle of the room, there it is. Well, on the other hand, the living room area in this apartment did really turn out nice, and I'm pleased with it. So hopefully you'll have that kind of luck with yours when you do it. Just keep in mind, things aren't always perfect.